Not one Native American tribe has used the term shaman to refer to the traditional healers, ritualists, singers, mystics, lore keepers, or medicine people that they practice. Those who bridge the gap between the spirit world and humanity can be categorized into two groups: shamans, whose authority rested solely on their personal abilities, and priests, who represented the interests of the tribe or nation to some extent. The term shaman has different origins, potentially derived from the Persian word for pagan, or, more likely, from the Tungus language of the nomadic Mongoloid people of East Siberia, where it referred to medicine men or exorcists. It was later extended to individuals with similar roles among the Native American tribes. Among the Haida and Tlingit tribes, shamans fulfilled nearly all religious roles, including that of a healer. At times, a shaman merged civil and religious authority by assuming the role of a town or house chief. Typically, a shaman inherited his position from an uncle, along with his spiritual allies, much like inheriting material wealth. However, some individuals became shamans due to their natural aptitude. Regardless of the circumstances, the onset of their new role was often marked by the individual falling unconscious and remaining in that state for a period. In other regions of North America, the sweat lodge played a crucial role in inducing the appropriate mental state, and some individuals became shamans after surviving a lightning strike or a confrontation with a wild animal. During treatment or ceremonial acts, a Northwest Coast shaman was believed to be inhabited by a supernatural entity whose name he bore and whose attire he replicated. Among the Tlingit, this spirit was often accompanied by several lesser spirits depicted on the shaman's mask, enhancing his senses such as eyesight and smell. He allowed his hair to grow long without cutting or styling it. During ceremonies, he swiftly circled the fire in the direction of the sun, while his assistant played a wooden drum accompanied by friends singing spirit songs and tapping on narrow boards. In this state, the spirit revealed to him various insights, such as the location of prey like whales, the approach of adversaries, or the causes of a patient's illness. In the latter scenario, he would alleviate the pain by various methods like blowing on the affected area, applying a charm, or manipulating the object causing discomfort. If the person's soul had wandered, he would retrieve and return it, and if the patient had been cursed, he would identify the culprit and prescribe the appropriate remedy. Payment for his services was typically made up front, with refunds issued in case of failure. However, in some tribes, failure resulted in severe consequences, even death. Shamans also showcase their abilities through tricks to demonstrate their power, and in conflicts between rival tribes, shamans would engage in spiritual battles. The concepts underlying shamanic practices in various Native American tribes were similar, but the methods employed differed significantly. For instance, instead of being possessed, Iroquois shamans, and likely others, exercised control over their spirits as if managing various tools. On the other hand, Chitimacha shamans communicated with their helpers while in a trance state. There were two kinds of shamans among the Nootka: the Uktaku, or healers, who healed those afflicted with illnesses inflicted by enemies or appearing as insects, and the Kakwatsma, or soul workers, who were experts at reconnecting wandering souls with their bodies. The Sangaish people at the southern tip of Vancouver Island also had two types of shamans. The higher-ranking shaman, known as the Skuneyam, gained their power through interactions with supernatural beings. Conversely, the Eshawa, often a woman, obtained her knowledge from another Eshawa. While the former fulfilled the typical shamanic role, the latter's duties included appeasing hostile forces through sacred language and providing assistance to women seeking fertility and various charms. Among the Salish people, the initiation process for shamans and warriors appeared to be similar. They were initiated through animals that became their guardian spirits. In their larger dedicated lodges within the camp, Kootenai shamans would pray and call upon spirits. The Hoopa people of California distinguished between two types of shamans: the dancing shamans, responsible for diagnosing illnesses and prescribing treatment steps, and other shamans, who identified the source of ailments and removed them through sucking. Mojave shamans typically received their powers directly from Mastamho, the primary deity, and gained them through dreaming rather than the conventional methods of fasting, isolation, and supplication. This trait is also observed among the Shasta people. The Maidu exhibited significant variations within a small geographical area. In certain regions, hereditary factors played a minor role in selecting shamans, whereas in the northeastern part of Maidu territory, all of a shaman's children were required to follow in their parents' footsteps or else risk facing fatal consequences at the hands of the spirits. In this region, there were two types of shamans: the conventional shaman, primarily focused on healing, and the dreamer, who communicated with spirits and the deceased. While all shamans were also dreamers, the reverse wasn't true. During the winter, the dreamers convened in dimly lit homes to converse with spirits, resembling modern-day spirit mediums. At other times, foothill shamans gathered to determine their prowess through dance-offs until only one remained standing. Those without a shaman parent had to venture into the mountains to fast and undergo specific rituals, as did shamans seeking more powerful helpers. Shamans in this area always carried cocoon rattles. Historians categorize three types of shamans among the Chippewa, along with the herbalist or doctor who holds a distinct role. These include the Wabeno, specializing in medical magic; the Jesakad, acting as seers and prophets empowered by the thunder god; and the Maid, associated with the sacred society known as the Maidawiwan, often viewed more as priests. Similarly, the Delaware had the Maidu, who primarily focused on healing, and a separate group of diviners known as powwow or dreamers. Unlike many shamans, the Central Eskimo communicated with spirits while seated, with their main task being to discern the breaking of taboos leading to sickness or storms. Unlike the shaman, whose role was personal, that of a priest was often national or tribal. In cases where elaborate rituals were involved, the priest's duties might lean more towards leadership in ceremonies and preservation of sacred myths, rather than direct mediation between spirits and humans. Occasionally, particularly among the Northwest Coast tribes and Eskimo, the roles of priest and shaman could overlap. The interchangeable use of these terms by various writers, particularly concerning Eastern tribes, often blurs the distinction between them. Even in regions where shamanism was prevalent, there was a trend for specific priestly duties to revolve around the village or tribal leader. This is evident among the Haida, Tlingit, Tsimshian, and Kwakiutl tribes, where chiefs played significant roles in secret society ceremonies. Moreover, the chief of the Fraser River Coast Salish acted more as a high priest than a civil leader, guiding his community in religious practices. Many tribes of the Eastern Plains featured two distinct groups of individuals falling into this category. One group consisted of societies focused on identifying and applying specific remedies while also invoking higher powers. To join such societies, individuals typically underwent a period of instruction. The other group included a select few who served as high-ranking officials, overseeing national rituals, passing down their knowledge to a limited number of successors. The priests of the Chippewa, Menominee, and other Algonquian tribes' Mitawiwan ceremonial may have been comparable to these. The priests of the Chippewa, Menominee, and other Algonquian tribes' Mitawiwan ceremonial may have been comparable to these. According to some accounts, there was a prominent high priest in each creek town. These individuals held significant sway and had a considerable impact on the community, especially in military matters. They claimed to predict weather patterns, manipulate rainfall, cure illnesses, dispel witchcraft, summon or banish evil spirits, and even control thunder and lightning. In the Natchez state, governance followed a theocratic system where the head chief, known as the Great Sun, traced their lineage directly back to the national lawgiver believed to have emerged from the sun. As such, the Great Sun also served as the chief priest of the nation by virtue of their lineage. Other sons, though to a lesser extent, shared in these duties and comprised a sacred caste within the society. Certainly, the most advanced priesthood north of Mexico resided among the Pueblos of New Mexico and Arizona, where they held sway over both the civil and military aspects of the tribe. The rain priesthood comprised mainly men whose primary duty was to ensure ample rainfall through secretive prayers and fasting rituals. Conversely, the Bow priesthood represented a warrior society whose rituals aimed to express gratitude for bountiful harvests, or upon securing a scalp, to invoke rain as a result of the god's pleasure derived from such actions. In Zuni, the highest authority and final court of appeal are the two chief priests of the bow and the rain priests from the 6 cardinal points. Each of these groups, except for the priest of the zenith, had several aides. The priestess of fecundity, serving as the female assistant to the priest of the north and holding the highest rank, wielded significant authority. Below them were the Kodikili Society and the esoteric societies. All male Zuni, and occasionally some females, were accepted into the former, which directly communicated with the gods and conducted ceremonies to summon rain. The esoteric societies, on the other hand, primarily focused on the zoic or beast gods and primarily functioned as healing societies. During ceremonies, they might attend to a patient or send for a single member. These societies also conducted essential ceremonies to bring rain. The active members of these societies, including the Kodikili, were referred to by a specific term, theurgists, but their roles leaned more towards those of priests than shamans.